What's the haps? I'm Meroka, and today I'm going to be taking a quick look at Camera Obscura. This is a puzzle platformer title with a very interesting photography mechanic. This is by Anteater Games, who have probably the best logo I've ever seen in my life. They have, it's just the FU I'm an Anteater image, which is like, classy guys, I like it, I like you guys, I like you a lot. Anyway, before getting into the game, I'm going to take a look at the options menu, as I tend to do. We have sound and music at the top on separate sliders, that's good to see. We have rumble options, so I'm playing on a gamepad, so I can't say I've ever really picked up on the fact that it's ever rumbled, but I guess it must, I don't know. Full screen and resolution are options, although it doesn't do much. As you can see, I'm playing 1280 by 720, and, well, frankly, we've got black bars down the side, and it's not really doing much with the space. It's a 4:3 aspect ratio, regardless of what you do, and it just puts black bars around it if you choose anything else, so it's not great there. Come on, guys, make use of the screen real estate, please. And language options are a thing as well. You can, in fact, rebind the controls if you so desire, and in fact, if I recall, I believe the actual movement on the gamepad was originally bound to the D-pad, which, I don't know, I didn't want to do that. I mean, we've got an analog stick for a reason for movement. We've been doing that for years, guys. That I feel like that should be the default, but hey, you can rebind it on a gamepad, which, let's be honest, you don't often see that, so that's very cool. Okay, so let's head on in and see what we've got. We have a tower, which we're going to be ascending through various puzzle platforming stuff. Got 4 different sections that I've got through so far. I think there are another 4. I think there are 8 sort of nodes on this tower that you can get through, so that was the 4th section. It shows you a couple ahead of it, but as I progressed, it's sort of unlocked more and more, so I think, mostly judging by the achievements, there are going to be 8, I think, total of these nodes, and then each of these then has 10 more levels within them. So, if I show you some of the earlier levels, we can show you some of the basic gameplay, and then I'll move on to something a little bit more advanced. So we've got tower base, entrance. We'll start with something like, I don't know, drained aqueduct. So we have some fairly standard geometric platforming, and we can run, we can jump, we can run around, we can not get across these gaps. How do we get across such gaps as these? Well, we've got a photography mechanic by pressing either B or the triggers, works on gamepads. You can take a photograph, kind of stuff. It's kind of weird, and then that fades. It's sort of an after image. It's like, I feel like it's like taking long exposure photographs, where if you sort of take a picture and then wave the camera around, it sort of creates like trails and things and after images. And it's kind of that kind of thing. So then you create sort of temporary virtual terrain that you can totally stand on and climb around. You can get crushed by it, and indeed so can enemies. It's going to be your main method of actually destroying enemies, and it does some really interesting things because it moves with your character, and it takes a little while to get used to kind of how that's working. Not too long, but it's just a little strange to wrap your head around immediately. So if you're running up the slope here, it will continue moving in that direction, and then you've created a virtual slope, so you keep running in that direction, and it keeps moving in that direction. And then a few seconds later, it stops moving, and you can just use it as a platform. Once it goes white, it solidifies. If you hold the trigger down, or B down, or whatever, it will fade out a little faster than it would normally. It will go after a few seconds anyway, but if you hold the trigger down, you can just speed up that process just to clear it out so you can take another picture. You can see the camera on my person there. It's when you take a photograph, a few seconds later, there's a little green flash, just like that, which says your camera is ready to take another picture. If you take another one, that will get rid of the previous one, so you can make your way on like this. And I'm not going to make it across that gap. No. What I should do is I should take a picture of it, and then we can run across there and solve that. There will be hidden things around the level, although there probably won't be too much early on because I've already found them. There are a bunch of photographs you can collect, which is mainly how the story is explained. That's not how I needed to do that one. The story is entirely explained through the photograph collection mechanic. They're basically just hidden collectibles. Most of the levels, at least early on that I found, are relatively straightforward. They're not too bad to complete the levels themselves, but sometimes getting the photographs can be a little tricky. So if I jump there, I can move the after image up a little bit and use that as a platform to get up there. And then we find a door that lets me get out of the level. And then, I guess because I'm replaying the level, it doesn't normally tell you that, but when you're replaying the level, it's got its own sort of, I think, kind of like Portal, where it's like in Portal it was like use the least number of portals to get through level. In here it's use the least number of photographs. And then there's also time attack as well, and they'll give you medals based on how well you did. There's a few there. It's like I got a bronze medal for using 4 photographs, and get better medals for 3, I guess. So you can compete as well if you want to strive to be the very best at taking photos of things. There's that there as well. So let's move on to a little higher up the tower, if I can. It's kind of a strange navigation here. It looks like you'd press right on that, but pressing right opens up the menu there. So that was kind of strange. I have earned a bunch of medals here. I didn't know I had, but I guess I did reasonably well on some levels. So there you go. Let's have a look at Crushed Crosswalk. So you can find some enemies. There's like 1 enemy, I think, in the entire first section of the tower. It's like level 2 when they start introducing enemies as a mechanic. So there's 1 here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do much with it, but it does move around based on that. If I can crush it between that and the wall, it will be destroyed. It is just a jelly thing. It's just going to kind of wander back and forth. Different enemies move in different ways. The jelly slime things, whatever these are. If they walk off a ledge, they will gladly walk off a ledge. There are some other weird, I'm not sure what the hell they are, anteater kind of things, I guess. Which if they get to the edge of something, they will just turn around and walk back. So there's slightly different movement mechanics between different enemies. That didn't work terribly well. Let's try that again. If I hold that to fade out, I can time that and jump up there. So there's a little bit of timing involved. Actually, in a lot of cases, actually quite a lot of timing involved. Different puzzles require different strategies. At first I wasn't sure quite how much they could do with it, but I have been surprised by a number of different mechanics and puzzles and the amount of different things you can actually do with this mechanic. It continues to surprise me kind of how much depth there is to it. At first I was like, well, what can they possibly do with that? There may be moving platforms, and yes, indeed they do use moving platforms, and there's using enemies in creative ways, there's pressing switches and things. There are some surprising amounts of things that they've done with it. So, where am I going across here? I think I just want to run across this one. Alley-oop. And there we go. So these are all fairly basic stuff. Shouldn't be anything too terribly challenging. First couple of sections of the game. And there we go. Ta-da. Cool. So I'll head into the next section of the game as well. Because like I say, there's enemies there. Let's, I want to see if I can find some other enemies so I can demonstrate kind of how to fight an enemy. There's a weird, like I say, anteater thing. All enemies will just instantaneously kill you if you touch them. You'll just do that. So you can go back. There are checkpoints in the levels, but it's never obvious where they are. It doesn't really tell you where the checkpoints are. Sometimes if you die, you won't go completely right back to the start of the level. Oh, I remember this level, right. So the way I've dealt with a lot of these is in this one, just to get them out of my way. Can make the photograph disappear. No, that's not going to work. I can see if I can drop this one out. You can just sort of throw it into the void there, but I can't jump over that. But yeah, that's an interesting way to get rid of enemies in this one. It's sort of just, can you maneuver enemies onto another platform by using the temporary nature of the platforms you are creating? Which is an interesting choice. So I can make a platform across there. And the exit to this level is really, really simple. But the photograph requires you to go back across all of these, past a load of enemies and stuff. So getting the actual narrative of the game actually requires you to put some work in. Completing the game is not always easy, but frequently not too bad. If you wanted to do a time attack on this level, it wouldn't be a big deal at all. But if you want to actually find where the photograph is to get the story, well, there's a bit more to it than that. If we head back out into the menu, I can show you some of the photographs, which, I don't know, they're not actually photographs, which is kind of disappointing. You got this album. If you pick them up, this is what you get. You get chunks of, you get these little photographs, and they're not photographs, it's just white text on a black background. Which, it's interesting reading, no doubt. I'm quite fascinated by the story they've created here, and your character is essentially an archaeologist exploring the ruins of this tower, and relating to the story of the peoples that lived there and how it became to be abandoned, and this sort of the sect, the cult kind of that grew up around it, and it's really interesting. But we've got a photography thing going on here. I feel like it would have been nice if these photos were actually, you know, proper photos. If there are actual photos in the game, you're actually unlocking proper photos. So I don't know. like I say, it's an interesting story, but you do have to put in a bit of work to actually get hold of it, and I feel like it's rewarding in its own right to try and get those. So let's head a little deeper into the tower. We've got common quarters. So as you ascend the tower, sort of the themes of the tower will change. So at the bottom of the tower, it's very dark kind of place, grim. There's not much light. As we ascend the tower here, it's kind of got going to be a little lighter, a little area, a little higher up the tower. There's going to be some windows maybe. This one's a bit more industrial. It kind of explains through the story that part of... No, that didn't work very well. Part of building the tower was... It's kind of set into a mountain, and as they built the tower upwards, the mountain was not even strong enough to support the massive weight of this huge tower. I'm getting a very Tower of Babel kind of vibe from the whole thing, to be quite honest. The sort of stairway to heaven kind of deal. And it's like, oh, the mountain couldn't even support the might of this huge, huge tower, so it had to be shorn up with metal, so suddenly you get these metal chunks of the level, which it'll be interesting to see if we can actually find any in this level. There might not be any here. But the metal... Actually, you don't get the afterimage on the metal parts of the level, only the stone parts of the level, these standard ones. These ones, you create the afterimage. That'll just be where the photo was, I guess, on this level. The metal parts actually don't translate. Most of the time, although there are some bits, usually moving platforms, which for some reason kind of do, which I'm not sure why that should be the case. I can't quite make much out of that. So let's try and get up here. Yeah, there we go, there's some metal. So if I do this, you can see how the afterimage only works on the sort of the stone, the dirt kind of bit, and these metal girders, they don't actually get captured by the camera, and gonna have to work around the level working with it. So if I do that there, I can move that there, and there's some interesting mechanics that come out of that. And I remember this level was horrible, so I'm probably not going to finish this one. This requires some sort of horrible maneuver like that. And then, nope, nuts to that, no. Go back to the menu. I don't like that level. That took me, there's some of the levels, like that one, that was one level I did genuinely get stuck on for a while. It took me a number of attempts to get that one. So, head on up the tower. This is as far as I've got. It's taken me an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe, to get this far, so I'm about... I don't know, maybe about a third of the way through the game, and it is getting trickier. I'm running more and more into stuff that I'm having trouble with. This level is... To be fair, I can see what I need to do with this level. It's just really difficult to do. You kind of got this one slime guy at the start, and I need to maneuver him through the level without killing him. So I can pick him up by doing that. Drop him in the next section there. It's just kind of really difficult to do without either touching the enemy or... Is that going to work? That's not going to work. It's hard to do without either touching the enemy or, you know, killing the enemy. So if I can do that, it should work. There is a switch which needs to be pressed later on in the level, and I need to maneuver this little guy over to it in order to press it, because I am too big to fit into the gap where the switch is. Which, again, they're doing interesting things with this mechanic there, you know, off the bat. I wouldn't have said... I would have realised were possible, so I'm always impressed by puzzle designers, to be honest. My brain doesn't work the same way. It's like, I have no idea how you guys come up with these kind of things, but... Oh really? You turn around. This requires some very, very precise timing, a little bit of trial and error maybe, which I'm not super keen on, and there we go. A little bit of trial and error, a bit of precise timing, and it's just... awkward is what it is. This is the worst bit. I need to get it across this gap, and I've failed a lot of times at doing this. Actually, I think I may have done this wrong anyway. See, I need to maneuver that without hitting the enemy, which is not easy at all. And I very nearly crushed that little guy then. That wouldn't have been useful to me. If I had squished it, I would have had no enemy to press the button, so you can straight up fail some of these levels. Most of the levels you can't. Most of the levels it's just make your way to the exit. But then there are some levels, like this one, where it is entirely... That didn't work. Entirely plausible to fail a level entirely, as I say, just by crushing the one character that you need to flip a switch. So come on, there we go. No? No. Well, nuts to that. Alright, I'll see if I can find the other one noteworthy mechanic there was, which, like I said, there are some moving platforms, which also work similarly. We got Tower Base is in here. It's not what I'm looking for, I don't think. There may be, I'm not sure where this is going to come across on the recording. There are some kind of weird flickering in the background occasionally, which I will say doesn't happen when I'm not recording, so I don't think that would be anything anyone else would ever be able to probably concern themselves with. But if there's any issues with recording, I will say you probably won't be experiencing that in the game. But Dumbway to Origin, I know this one's got these sort of elevators. And these ones, like I said, they're metal like the other ones, but they do create this after image, like everything else, which, I don't know, it seems slightly inconsistent. I'm not sure what to do about that. Up there, I'm quite sure is a photo, and I have not figured out how to get that. I spent a lot of time trying to get that photo, and yeah, I couldn't get it. If you know how to get it, let me know, because I really want to know. I want that story, man. I want that story. So let's talk about the aesthetic, because it's a strange kind of thing. It's got almost a pixel art kind of thing going on in some cases, but then it's sort of artistic in other ways, which is kind of strange. It's this weird mix. It reminds me a lot of A Valley Without Wind, actually, which I know a lot of people didn't like the style of. Damn it, that didn't work. I kind of dig it. I kind of liked A Valley Without Wind. I was okay with that style. But yeah, each their own. Obviously, that is a fairly subjective thing. Some people might not like it. I like the character design. The character design's cool. You know, this archaeologist explorer, rather than your usual badass hero, it's just someone who's just out to explore for science the ruins. Just kind of a nice, different kind of character. And the music is fantastic. They've got an original soundtrack, and it's all phenomenal. You can hear. I'll let you listen to it a bit without me gabbing over the top of it. So let's no, I've been to that level. Let's find some more levels for you. Okay, so the game actually genuinely did crash there. That's not happened before, but I guess that's a concern. I couldn't possibly tell you what happened. I was literally in the middle of launching a level. So I was going to play a level and let you have a listen to the soundtrack was what I was going to do. So let's pick something out again and hope it doesn't crash. I can't imagine it would. Like I say, it's not happened before. So, where are you? Let's try Gem Workers Sluice Gates. Really is a great soundtrack. I'm liking it a lot, and I believe they are selling that separately on Steam. If you wish to pick that up, I can very much recommend it. I'm liking it a lot. So this is, you can see, this is kind of a timing puzzle. With you got this guy at the top is, damn it, why did I do that? That guy at the top is pressing all the switches for you in this level, and you need to be very, very, very careful not to squish him, because otherwise none of the doors will open for you, and you will fail the level. Which you kind of don't want to do. So, it's a fairly easy to figure out level. I mean, it should be, if I wasn't completely idiotic about it. So I can head up here. I can take care of this enemy, as you probably saw a moment ago, by just doing that. That's easy enough. Just give it a bit of a crush between the walls. If I get there ahead of time, I can actually... Because it only does an area around, a limited area kind of around your character, so you can kind of outrange it. It's not like it's maneuvering the entire level every time you do this. So as long as that guy's off screen, it shouldn't be a concern about him being crushed. So then they're gonna press the button. That's gonna flip open the door, and then there is a further timing element insofar as you need to get through that door before he gets to the other end. And because it's the metal structure, that's not going to create an afterimage, so you can't actually kill it to sort of, you know, lock the door open. And there you go. And that's that level. So let's a look at some of the mechanics of Camera Obscura. I would imagine there probably will be more interesting stuff further up the tower. But as I say, it's starting to get to the point where it's getting kind of tricky. I didn't think it was a terribly challenging game at first, but it's actually continuing to surprise me. I keep running into bits that are surprisingly challenging. So there you go. That's Camera Obscura. I'm liking it. I like the style. I love the soundtrack. It's great, and it's got some very, very interesting mechanics. More interesting mechanics than I would have initially given it credit for, definitely. So this is out now. This is on Steam. This is £4.99 or your regional equivalent. Indeed, £7.99 if you want the soundtrack with it. Soundtrack can also be purchased separately as well. I think it's a really cool game. I think people should be checking this out. So there you go. So thank you very much for watching. I've been Meroka. This has been Camera Obscura, and I will see you next time.